Hello and thanks for joining us today. Arts24's best exhibitions and museums to visit this season, starting with a hidden gem in central Paris. The Jacquemart André Museum is a 19th century stately home with an impressive collection of art and antiques. It's just reopened to the public after a year of renovations. Olivia Salazar-Winspear went to check it out.
Once a private mansion, now a beautiful setting in which to contemplate a classical art collection, the Jacquemart André Museum in Paris shows us what luxury living looked like in the late 19th century. It's just been restored to its former glory after a year closed to the public, and as a listed building, there were very strict rules to follow.
Here, we are in the Tiepolo staircase. The fresco was restored in 1998, but we didn't touch the staircase at the time. So now everything's been redone, restored. We've cleaned the marble, the trompe-l'oeil graining, the scagliola work, which is wonderful. And without a doubt, the most spectacular operation here is our cleaning of the glass roof, completely illuminating the space, and we have an idea of what this room once was. We almost feel like we're outside, when in fact we're inside a stately home.
Edouard André bought this piece of land in the 1860s and commissioned a private mansion. He was soon joined by his wife, Nelly Jacquemart, a painter herself, both of them passionate about artwork and antiques.
The Jacquemart André Museum has a unique place in Paris's cultural landscape. We're in someone's home, actually. We're in the house that two art collectors lived in. And that's really what we try to emphasize and recreate. The late 19th century atmosphere, the home of collectors with very eclectic tastes. And this personal touch is something that visitors really enjoy.
The Jacquemart André collection includes pieces by Andrea Mantegna, Giovanni Bellini and Sandro Botticelli, Italian Renaissance paintings which should feel quite comfortable next to their new temporary companions, an exhibition of masterpieces from the Borghese Gallery in Rome.
Here we can see the result of two different approaches to art collecting, which both took place at different points in history. They had different priorities and completely different tastes. But the spirit of these collectors is something we really wanted to underline. We wanted to link these two stories, one which was based in the Rome of the popes, and the other a couple and their travels, their love of art and Italian Renaissance art.
Cardinal Scipione Borghese had eclectic tastes, from ancient Roman sculpture to pieces made by up-and-coming artists. Indeed, some of these paintings ushered in the Baroque style, like Caravaggio's Boy with a Basket of Fruit.
It's
very important in the history of the Borghese collection because not only does it tell us about the relationship between Scipione Borghese and Caravaggio, but also about how artwork was acquired. It was part of Giuseppe Cesari's collection, another painter who was much more famous than Caravaggio at the time, and he was forced to hand that collection over to the Pope. The Pope then gave it to his nephew, Cardinal Scipione Borghese. addition to temporary exhibitions like the Borghese collection, the museum will also host regular gatherings, educational sessions for children, and even opera recitals, recreating the Parisian salon atmosphere for 21st century lovers of art.
Well, next we're going on a journey back in time to meet the Vikings. France's immersive Viking city has just opened its doors in Rouen in Normandy, 2 hours from Paris. It's an experience that takes you back in time 10 centuries, where you can feel like a Viking yourself. Charlie James takes a look inside.
In our imagination, the Vikings look like this: bloodthirsty warriors, lawless conquerors. Invaded by the Vikings 12 centuries ago, the French city of Rouen is now introducing them differently. A total immersion in their world, 360-degree projections, sounds, and skills to master. Enough to feel like a Viking during your visit.
The interactive side is really great. It's a change from a museum. It's fun. You just have to read, and there's a nice interaction.
We've learned a lot about the culture and the environment that they lived in.
Discover, for example, how Normandy's history was forever changed by a great Viking leader, one played by French actor Philippe Torrenton in the exhibition.
You learn how the Vikings arrived in Normandy. And one Viking who was particularly interesting was Rollo, a Viking leader around the year 911. He was specifically the one who negotiated control over the region with the French king, and today he's considered the founder of present-day Normandy.
These warriors left their mark on popular culture. For this girl, whose first name Solveig has Viking origins, this is a chance to make connections with movie superheroes.
This is Thor's hammer in the Avengers. He's my favorite superhero because he looks like a Viking. And he can control the weather with his hammer.
The experience is also an opportunity to knock out certain cliches.
People think they were barbaric.
But they were not barbaric. I didn't know the history of the Vikings in such detail. I only learned about it in history textbooks.
If you're ready to board the Viking longships, this life-size game can teach you everything about these formidable Scandinavian warriors.
Well, next to the toddlers, whose art is selling for thousands. Artwork made by small children is increasingly popular on the art market, and some of those very young talents are being scouted by galleries via social media. Olivia Salazar-Winspear has this report.
Laurent is 2 years old and he loves painting, like many children his age. Yet, unlike other toddlers, his canvases sell for up to €7,000 and are hanging on gallery walls. As for Liam Ankra, he entered the Guinness Book of Records at 19 months old when he sold 9 pieces after an exhibition in Ghana. But what happens when these baby artists grow up, and what becomes of their work? Merlin Rion is a young painter who sold his first pieces at 12 years old. Today he's showing his work in a prestigious gallery in Paris.
Ça va? Bien, mais grave, trop bien, je suis trop content.
Moi aussi. They specialize in up-and-coming artists.
Il y a forcément des modes.
Obviously, there are fashions in art. But when you have this sort of talent, it doesn't matter about trends. He'll go far, that's for sure.
Merlin started painting very young. He says age is unimportant. It all depends on the sincerity of the artist and those encouraging him.
I think that when you're doing it for yourself, first and foremost, it's the artist's intention that's really important. As for what the buyer thinks, that's none of our business, really.
Today, Merlin lives from his art. Like Kieran Williamson, who was discovered at 6 years old. Or the American child prodigy, who's now a media darling. These days, most of the young talents are quite conventional painters, a far cry from the speculative side of the contemporary art market and its flash-in-the-pan success stories, which rarely transform into long-term careers.
And finally, Salvador Dali and René Magritte are among the artists being celebrated in a blockbuster exhibition at Paris's Pompidou Centre, marking the 100th birthday of the surrealism movement. We're going to leave you with a taster of that show, which is open until January. Thanks for watching. See you next time.